Hey guys, in this presentation, I would like to discuss a personalized learning plan. So, there are 9 essential conditions of personalized learning that are outlined in the white pages of A Vision for Personalized Learning in Georgia K through 12 Schools by Anissa Loki Vega and Stephanie Stevens from Kennesaw State University. These 9 essential conditions include prioritized executive function, individual plan, growth mindset, flexible content, learner voice, authentic and adaptive assessment, dynamic communication, expand collaboration, and mastery dysphoria. So there are just a handful that I want to talk to you about that I think that I have the greatest influence on. And the first of these is the growth mindset. So I feel that I and probably most educators already incorporate the growth mindset in their classroom. And to me, the growth mindset is just a positive mindset. So instead of saying, I can't do this, students say, I can't do this yet. Or instead of saying, I don't understand, students can say, I don't understand this yet. So adding that yet to the end of those more negative phrases helps the growth mindset because students are more positive and they understand that even though they might not know the topic or the answer at that moment, they do have the potential of knowing it at a later point. The next is a condition that I want to talk about that I think I have a influence over is going to be learner voice. So I know that I have a great influence over learner voice because as a teacher and an educator, you create your classroom climate. And as a teacher creating my classroom climate, I know that I want it to be warm and inviting and that students feel comfortable when they express their voice on their needs, their preferences, their interests, to influence their own education. And even asking questions, I know that's one of the hardest things for students, especially in 6th grade. They're entering middle school and they really care about what other people think about them. They stop wanting to ask questions. But as long as I can create that warm classroom climate where learners feel that they have a voice, they can ask questions which can benefit their classmates as well. The next condition that I want to discuss is dynamic communication. So dynamic communication is just providing multiple formats of communication for your class. And to me, this is done, for me, this is done through Remind 101, sending out reminders to students. It's also done on my announcements page of my website, my class website, and emails weekly or every so often I send out to parents. And it's just opening up multiple avenues for student to student communication, student to teacher communication, and then parent and teacher communication. And that even includes like discussion boards on my website and stuff like that. So I feel that those are things that I have a huge influence over and that I can really incorporate in my classroom. So 2 goals that I have with a personalized learning plan, both short-term and long-term, and depending on how school looks this upcoming year. The first is going to be my short-term goal, and I want to be able to conduct goal setting with my students, both short and long-term, and then have check-ins with students to provide them with meaningful and appropriate feedback as well as co-planning opportunities on 80% of major projects. My long-term goal for the 2020-2021 school year is to develop lessons in which 85% of lesson activities include multiple digital tools and resources to show for the delivery of the content and to show mastery of the content. So with any goals, you're going to have barriers. And for me, I feel that my biggest barriers are going to be time. So I have 120 students on average. Conferencing with students multiple times individually takes a lot of time. And we're also, given parameters on class periods. So I feel that that would probably be a big barrier both in and outside of class because not only are you conferencing with students in class and that's taking time, but you're also providing them with meaningful and appropriate feedback, and that can even take place, outside of class on a teacher's personal time. The second is, I feel like, probably a barrier for many goals in the ITEC program, and that's going to be technology access. So both in and outside of class, technology access can be a struggle, and equitable access to technology for students is going to be essential in them being most successful in this format with these goals. As far as readiness, my middle school that I work at is really putting all the funds from fundraising and the money that we're allotted towards purchasing technology to provide students with. Right now, each team of teachers has between 30 and 45 laptops and Chromebooks that they share. So though I don't have technology in my classroom at all times, there are opportunities for me to have that frequently or occasionally. Students are already familiar with Google Apps, Google Classroom, all of that stuff. So using that as a platform is ready to go for students. They're also familiar with our learning management system, which is referred to as eClass. It's the Desire to Learn Brightspace that's used for a lot of schools. So that is where I think that we're ready to move forward. As far as timeline, I see between August and September being a great opportunity for me to establish that rapport with students and creating those goals, and following students, following their goal setting, having students meet with me individually to provide them with that feedback, making sure their goals are measurable and obtainable and realistic, and all of that. I also want to make sure that during these first 2 months that are really critical, I'm going to demonstrate the technology tools and resources that students are going to be using or have the opportunity to use, and give students time to explore these and familiarize themselves with the tools. Then from October to December, I want to do a midpoint check-in with students to conference with them about their progress towards their goals. And I'll also begin discussing their major project that will be coming up in the following semester, and their options for personalized learning. So kind of opening the idea. I think that so far in students' education, especially in elementary school, they've always kind of been told what to do for a project, given a rubric and kind of bullet points of what they need to do exactly. So it's kind of a hard concept to come to terms with when they have so much opportunity. It's, sometimes it's overwhelming. It's like too much. So just starting to talk to them about that major project and what personalized learning looks like with that project. Then when we get into January and February, students will work through a mastery-based personalized learning project, and throughout that time, those 2 months back at school, I'll be co-planning with students to start working on that project and introducing them to that content. And then I'm going to also do another check-in conference to discuss their goals. Have they reached their goals yet? Do we need to make new goals because they've already achieved their goals? Do we need to modify their other goals because they're not achieving them? Or how can we get them to that achievement level? And then in March and April, we're really going to dive into that major project with personalized learning. Students are going to go ahead and complete that project through and all the way through that module. And then April to May, students will reflect on their goals. They'll review their major project and reflect what worked, what didn't work, what would they change, how are we going to modify. Myself, I would be reflecting during that time period too. So that is my plan for personalized learning, and thank you so much for tuning in.